Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson is now stopping the clearing of homeless encampments. No surprise there, but before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I've been involved in a lot of nonprofits in my life. In fact, I'm involved in a bunch of them now. And in all of them, I made sure I had no access to the money. Somebody else did the bank account. If they wanted me to be a signer on an account, I always made sure there were two signers on the account. I always made sure I didn't have access. I always made sure it was independently audited. I always made sure there were accountants and bookkeepers. Or I became part of organizations that had accountants and bookkeepers. Because you never want the appearance of impropriety, especially when you're the head of one of these organizations. You want to be able to say, look at my books. Here you go. At the very minimum, you want to say, wasn't me. Blame that accountant guy over there. Why is there such resistance to finding out if there is fraud in the Washington daycare system? We're not just talking about the Somalis at this point. I'm wondering how many other people, regardless of their race, regardless of their ethnicity, are doing the exact same thing. I'm wondering if any home daycares are legit in Washington state right now, or have a bunch of people just figured out, wait a minute, if I say there's a home daycare here, I can get money from the government and they'll never check up on me? Because that's what it seems like is happening. Now, before I play the next couple clips for you, because this came up in the legislature yesterday and got very, 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 very contentious. Do you think it's that they're in on it? Do you think it's that they're so open-minded, such bleeding hearts, that they can't comprehend that anybody who's a person of color or anybody who's a minority or you name it might be engaged in fraud? A friend of mine was telling me a story today that her daughter was dealing with a whole bunch of kids giving her the Nazi salute in a Seattle school, and eventually transferred out to a Jewish school in the Seattle area. And one of the reasons they transferred out is because the administration of the Seattle Public School did not know how to deal with the fact that the kids giving the Nazi salute were black. No, it can't be. They can't be doing that because they're black. And of course, black people can't be racists. Well, guys, you had evidence of it. You have video of it. You knew all this was going on, and you refused to do anything about it because of their skin color. Why? Because the pigmentation is a little bit different? Because there's a higher count of melanin in it? They can't do anything wrong? They can't be racists? They can't have bad role models in their life like Kanye West? Well, that's what I want to know going into these clips. So let me set the stage for you for a second. You have Speaker Lori Jenkins, and you have Jamie Peterson, who's the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, and a whole bunch of the other Democrat leadership is having a discussion with the media. So they're just having a press briefing with the media in Olympia yesterday. And Chris Daniels from Como News, God bless him. I thought this was going to be a one-and-done deal, but Chris Daniels is apparently not letting go of the fact that there might be fraud in Washington state daycare system. But if you bring that up, Lori Jenkins explodes, loses it, completely goes off the rails. How dare you? And this isn't me, and this isn't Brandy, and this isn't Jonathan Cho, and this isn't Cam Higbee. It's none of us. It's Chris Daniels. And I think the reason she's losing it is because this story is actually getting traction. Here's what happened when Chris Daniels from Como News asked Lori Jenkins, the Speaker of the Washington State House, about alleged fraud. Just alleged fraud.
The House Speaker was very defiant on Friday, talking about any sort of allegations of fraud. There are also allegations of records getting deleted from state websites. Have either of you heard anything about the deletion of records from state websites as it pertains to child care centers?
I think the only
seems to
thing
be an expertise that the federal government has, not us. I mean, we can always look at those things, but that is something that the federal government is doing over and over and over again. I find these allegations.
Hang on a second. Mike, have you heard anything about the federal government deleting any records at all? Have we seen anything about that?
How about no?
What the hell is she talking about? Also, here's something else. Mike, maybe one of your guys wants to weigh in on this. Is the federal government running the DCYF website?
No.
Is the federal government running the Department of Revenue for Washington State?
No.
Is the federal government running the Washington State checkbook for Washington State?
No.
So what the hell is she talking about? What is she talking about? Then she pivots to this.
That is something that the federal government is doing over and over and over again. I find these allegations in Washington State, listen, people who just raise the issue of fraud when they have actually no substance behind what it is they're saying. We have so many checks, and I mean, if you look at the number of audits that have been being done by DCYF in childcare, it's extraordinary.
Hang on a second. I've looked at the number of audits. It's a fraction of the actual daycares that are here. So no, you're not doing that many audits. And you haven't seen anything? You haven't seen any evidence of it? You think people are just asking questions? No, we're providing the documentation. For example, today, over on my social media, I listed 2 houses that are back-to-back with each other in Seattle. Both of them are licensed daycares. No evidence of kids, no play area. One has multiple violations from the state, which means it has been investigated before. Both receive an excess of 6 figures. Neither looks like a daycare. And you put them both back to back with each other? They're both receiving the 6 figures? This makes no sense to me whatsoever. One of them has a little sign on it that looks like the sign was put up years ago. In case anybody comes to check, we have a sign. But more than that, we are finding out that so many of these places have never been checked and don't have any kids and are getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from Washington State. And yet they claim there's no fraud? Prove it to me. The fact that Lori Jenkins is losing it this bad tells me if you're taking flack, you're over the target.
Now, one of the things that's most important to remember is that every Washingtonian, every family who's getting child care deserves the right to have high-quality child care in this state. And if there are allegations, we have multiple systems in this state, everything from the audits and the investigations that are done by DCYF to our state auditor.
Your state auditor and DCYF found that there were over $2 million in fraud, waste, and abuse in the last investigation they did before they even investigated any of this. And yet you say there's no fraud. You say there's no waste. You say there's no abuse. The 2 agencies you just listed, by the way, this is the stuff you can find easily, the stuff they found. It's not the stuff that requires a little bit of digging. And they found $2 million without even breaking a sweat. How about a deeper dive into any of this? And if your state auditor and if DCYF are doing their jobs, how come they found $2 million in fraud?
The Joint Legislative Audit Review Committee. We have lots of opportunities for that. But for people to go out and knock on the door of child care centers and demand to see kids, I was just having to calm down Representative Stonier about what would have happened if somebody did that with regard to her children. It's a little bit. It just seems like it's scraping the bottom of the barrel to just raise random allegations of fraud.
They're not random allegations of fraud. Your own websites show it. And then when it started getting exposed, all of a sudden the information started changing on your own websites. We have the screenshots. What are you so afraid of? Here's something else. You want to hit us with an income tax. How do we know that money is going to be well stewarded? Because so far it hasn't been. Then she went a little bonkers crazy. Now, in all these videos of anybody knocking on any of the doors here in Washington State, they're not demanding to see the kids. They're saying, there's no cars, there's no people, there's no nobody. How do we know a daycare is going here? And the people are saying, there was not a daycare here. There's no daycare here. I'm not talking about the kids. Clearly, Lori Jenkins doesn't like you asking about this. And then she made up this whopper.
Now, we want to hear about real allegations with some substance behind them about what people think it is. But this is creating a huge lack of safety in our state, and this is one of the reasons why you see all these requests for public records exemptions, is because of the safety concerns that are raised by individuals going out and just attacking or engaging with somebody in a highly, highly inappropriate way.
Whoa. The Washington Speaker of the House just accused independent journalists of attacking daycares, of attacking daycare workers, of attacking daycare students. I reached out to Lori Jenkinson's office, and I said, would you mind providing any corroboration that this ever happened? I went back and looked at Jonathan Cho's videos, Cam Higbee's videos, and Carleen Johnson's reporting. There is no evidence this ever happened at all. To accuse independent journalists who are investigating fraud of attacking daycare workers? And no, this is not why you're trying to cover things up. You know why? The bills in question to cover up this material were pushed in response to what was going on in Minnesota. And the videos here hadn't even been made yet. The investigation hadn't even begun here yet. Lady, if you're going to accuse people of attacking daycare workers, you better have some proof, because right now, that's slander, and you're on the hook for it. Gets a lot worse from there. The Democrats lose it when they find out our friend Carleen Johnson from the Center Square is in the room, and that she went to some of the daycares. They all know Carleen Johnson. She's been in the business for years. She's been covering the legislature for the Center Square for, I think, 3 years now. But they lost it when they found out she was one of the people who went knocking on doors, because guess what? Then she's in the room to say, what are you talking about? We didn't attack anybody, and this is what we found, and you're saying there's no there. Are you calling me a liar?
Well, with all due respect, as one of the reporters who did some door knocking, never demanding to see a child. If anybody demanded to see a kid, that would be highly unusual. I don't think.
I'm glad you agree with that.
Right, and that never happened that I'm aware of, even all the stuff posted online. But when you do knock on a door that's a taxpayer-subsidized child care center that's received hundreds of thousands of dollars over a couple of months' time, there's no evidence of a child care center. As a reporter, I have every right to knock on that door and say, you're getting a heck of a lot of money. Or are you actually watching kids? And you've got all
my two kids went to an in-home child care center. The woman who ran it is still to this day called Grandma Cindy by my kids in their 20s. There's not a lock. There's not a gate going up to that front door. All of the regulations in the back for keeping the kids safe is in place. But if you were knocking on that door and I found out about it, I would lose my mind. That is a home. That is a home where a business operates to care for toddlers.
Then you know what? Don't take taxpayer money. If you don't want people showing up, don't take taxpayer money, and you could do whatever you want in your house. But from the houses I've been investigating in South Seattle, I see no evidence of the required play equipment anywhere. I see no signage. I see no evidence anybody is even home. No cars in driveways, no movement through any windows whatsoever, no lights even on. Those are just the ones I've been looking into. And then you've got these other ones being looked into where Jonathan Cho and Cam Higbee have shown up and the people go, there was never any daycare here. I don't know what you're talking about. Why are they losing it so much?
If it's a taxpayer-subsidized daycare, We have every right to knock on the door and say, are you a legit operation?
The Department of Children, Youth, and Families audits all of them every year. Did you?
That is not true. That is not true at all. They do not audit all of them every year. They audit a fraction of them.
Report that to the Department of Children, Youth, and Families?
Right.
Or did you write a story about it?
They have performed audits, and the findings have not been acted upon. That I have reported on.
So when you went and knocked on a in-home family child care center, did you report that there was nobody there to the Department of Children, Youth, and Families?
That there was no one from DCYF?
No, that there was. You said that there was no daycare going on there.
Right, there was no daycare.
And did you report that to the Department of Children, Youth, and Families so they could follow up?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, I look forward to hearing that because they audit every child care center every year.
They do not. They do not. That swarmy guy saying, oh, did you report it? Of course Carlene reported it. She does her job.
And they haven't found that instances of the kind of fraud that has been alleged.
That's not true. They found $2 million in the last audit before any of this. They haven't investigated any of this yet. We just started investigating it like 3 weeks ago.
I think, Carlene, what my point is you may have the right to do that. It's not right to do that.
Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. You may have the right to do that. It's not right to do that. Why? It's taxpayer money. You don't want people investigating it? Don't take taxpayer money. A common refrain I've been hearing out of the Democrats and some people in the lamestream media is, are there any real media reports, any trustworthy media reports on any of this? You mean aside from the state's own audit of DCYF? You mean aside from the stuff that's available online if you lazy turds would get off your butts and actually do your jobs? Yes, there is evidence of it from a mainstream media outlet. Because as much as I like what Chris Daniels is doing over at Como News, I know a lot of it he's getting from a lot of us on the interwebs. This is the report Como News ran last night. Don't tell me there's no evidence of this from the mainstream media.
Now at 6, state lawmakers are finally responding to news of overpayments that turned up in an audit of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, or DCYF. Good evening, I'm Preston Phillips.
And I'm Mary Nam. This comes amidst calls for an outside audit or investigation of spending on daycare centers. In tonight's Waste Watch report, Como senior reporter Chris Daniels took the question directly to the governor and top lawmakers in Olympia.
Como News has uncovered previous audits that shows DCYF did not adequately control nearly $500 million in taxpayer money that went to child care programs and overspent $2 million in 2024, leading to renewed concerns in Olympia.
We see a lot of smoke right now. If this were a court of law, we haven't pinpointed the fire.
That's State Rep Travis Couture.
DCYF kind of has the reverse King Midas touch. Everything they touch turns to crap.
The Allen Republican is pitching a bill for an outside audit. DCYF has acknowledged in the last year an overpayment of $2 million. Polling on our air at Como TV suggests that people want an outside audit. Do you support an outside audit of DCYF? And if not, why? And lawmakers in both parties and both chambers are now responding.
If those accountability and measurement metrics aren't adequate enough, then it would be worth looking at.
And of course, nobody wants fraud. Nobody wants people who are not playing by the rules to receive state funding.
If there's any agency that we should increase funding to, it would be the state auditor, because we're going to get a return on that investment.
Yet House Speaker Lori Jenkins and Governor Bob Ferguson expressed confidence the current system is working.
These suggestions about fraud with really no basis yet. Last year, they did 29,000 consumer audits. They did 1,400 provider audits, finding no widespread abuse. Now, you can ask the state auditor to go ahead and check on that, but to cavalierly suggest that there is some kind of fraud going on when we have been doing that kind of work, I think is unfair to child care providers.
Would you support an outside audit? And if the answer is no, why not?
As you know, Chris, take fraud pretty seriously. We literally send someone to each child care provider in person every single year, at least one time a year. That happens every year in our state to every single provider.
The state auditor's office told us it is reviewing the $770 million child care and development fund, which pays out money to 7,400 child care providers. That is part of the annual statewide audit, with a report due later this year. For now in Seattle, I'm Chris Daniels, KOMO News.
Former longtime state auditor.
So hang on a second. You guys admit in your own reports $2 million of it was waste, fraud, and abuse. You guys admit $500 million of it was uncontrolled and ripe for waste, fraud, and abuse. You have an audit coming on the entire $700 million pot. And you're telling me everything's secure? Did you hear the same talking points repeated? We audit every single thing. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's just not true. By DCYF's own numbers, they audit 1,400 a year. There are thousands of these places. You are not auditing every single one of them. And if you were auditing every single one of them, you would have found some of the stuff that we found. Why are they so nervous about this? Is it because they're in on it? Or, this is my theory. I think that when you give money to certain organizations in certain communities, they donate to your campaigns. They help get you elected. A lot of people go, they're in on it. They're in on it. Yeah, I think that's how they're in on it. I don't think it's that they're getting direct kickbacks. I think we would have found that already. But you know what? There's a lot more digging to be done, and I'm open to finding new things. And if you find evidence of it, you tell me. But given the fact that we have found that a lot of these places give donations to political candidates, like we have found with several in our area, I think that's how they're getting the money out of these organizations. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Tell me what you think of my theory, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 if you have your own theory. When we come back, my friends, what's not a theory is Socialist Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson is as bad as all of us thought, not sweeping out a massive homeless encampment because it's not near the Seahawks game. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Seems like a lot of you think I'm right on the money about my theory about the Democrats. This one here from El Darthbo, your theory is right on the money. The demon rats always filter their funding so they can say they never received money fraudulently. It's the old level of separation, as always. This one here from Shindy says right here, it says, spot on the kickback theory of their campaign, Master Jedi. Very good for the person who was listening yesterday to my whole rant about that I identify as a Jedi Master. This one here from the 360, we may have uncovered their revenue stream, how they all get rich. This one from John in Lakewood, I am hearing Jenkins, who doth protest too much. Call the legislative hotline to protest bill Senate Bill 5920. Good news for you, sir. It's not going forward. It's not getting a hearing. It's essentially dead for now. These things can always come back, but we'll see what happens. Moving on, there's a homeless encampment on the corner of Northwest 41st Street and the Burke-Gilman Trail out in Ballard. That's a neighborhood of Seattle for those of you who don't live out here. I love Ballard. Well, I used to love Ballard. It's like a little Cape Cod right here in our own Seattle. It's really a wonderful little place. I love Ballard. I really, really do. But in the past, 7, 8 years, it's really gone to crap because the homelessness problem is all over the place there and nobody's doing anything about it. It's one of the most ignored areas of Seattle because there's no stadiums there. There's no concerts there. The businesses are there and they're suffering from this too, but it's easy to ignore. So there was supposed to be this big homeless encampment was supposed to be cleared out yesterday, and then it wasn't cleared out because it turns out Katie Wilson stopped it. And she admits this, by the way. She admits this. She had to put out a press statement because everybody found out it was her office's directive. It was her directive not to clear this homeless encampment. She wrote this in a statement this morning. I visited the site of an encampment in Ballard that was scheduled to be removed because I want to understand in detail for myself what's working and what's not working within our current approach. Hang on. So you stopped the clearing of the encampment so you can figure out what's working and what's not working. I'll tell you what's not working. People living on the streets. I'll tell you what's not working. Businesses being vandalized or not having customers because there's a homeless encampment right out front of them. You know, I never go to the QFC on Rainier Avenue anymore because the parking lot is filled with homeless people because that building next to it, that's in the same strip mall that used to be a Rite Aid, has been turned into a hygiene center for the homeless. I don't go there anymore. Don't go there anymore. Used to go there all the time. The Lowe's across the street, I don't go there. I drive out to South Center. I drive 20 minutes away to go to that Lowe's rather than the one that's 10 minutes from my house because I don't want to go there because I know what I'm going to find in the parking lot. Sorry, guys. But you want to keep this here, Katie Wilson, right? She said, I decided to extend the deadline for the site to allow more time to assess whether we can improve outcomes for the people living there, for their neighbors, and for local businesses. Well, let's see. 2 out of 3 of those are not going to be improved by the homeless encampment staying there. In fact, I would argue 3 of 3. If the people are actually just drug addicts living in their tents, that's not a good situation for them to be in. They should be in treatment. Aren't you the ones who are always saying they should be inside shelter? It's not good for the houses that are there because they have to deal with this craziness and wake up with needles on their front lawn and worse. And it's not good for the businesses that are getting broken into all the time by the people who need to feed their habit. Who is the only person that benefits in this scenario? The activists who don't want the homeless encampments swept. There's very, very few of them, but they're very, very loud. In this case, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Yes, I saw that Star Trek movie. And yet, she's not doing that because she's prioritizing her activist base. And what's even worse is some of them homeless encampments are getting cleaned up for the Seahawks game this weekend. That's right, I drove through Soto. A lot of that stuff is being pushed over to Georgetown because Katie Wilson doesn't want to lose the World Cup and she doesn't want to be a national embarrassment. So my guess what happened? The activist lunatics went bonkers that they're cleaning up Soto where the stadiums are and she needed to give them something. And the people of Ballard were the sacrificial lamb. That's my theory. She says, my administration will soon be announcing concrete steps to expedite the expansion of emergency shelter and move quickly to open new shelter space. It's not a housing issue. It's a drug issue. It's a mental health issue. It's a crime issue. And if you think it's only about shelter, you're never going to solve it. Also, how many times has your failed method been tried and not worked? Oh, I'd say better part of 2 decades now, and it hasn't worked. But sure, just keep doing that because, the definition of insanity is, well, you know what it is. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss. A big win at SCOTUS today could have serious repercussions for mail-in balloting. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Washington's Attorney General Nick Brown was popping champagne yesterday. Why? Because they are celebrating that he filed his 50th lawsuit against the Trump administration. You guys doing the same math I am? That means he files a lawsuit against the Trump administration an average of once a week and takes 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. That's why he's been in office for a year, filed 50 lawsuits. That's an average of once a week. How many of them has he actually won? And I know some of you are going to say, he won this one. No, he hasn't won any of them yet. And neither has the Trump administration, for that matter, because a lot of them are still going to the Supreme Court. In fact, he's lost a bunch of those already, and we're going to find out how many more of them he's going to lose. You know what I'm going to do, Mike? Once a whole bunch of these cases are done, I'm going to do a public disclosure request to find out how much money his office spent on this, because lawyers work by billable hours. I want to know how many millions of dollars his office has spent suing this administration and losing. What's its latest lawsuit? They claim that there's federal overreach targeting the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for imposing conditions on federal funding that allegedly discriminate against transgender individuals. Brown and 11 others attorneys general argue that HHS is unlawfully requiring states to comply with the executive order that they say, ready for this, denies the existence of transgender people and enforces rigid definitions of sex. Is there something else other than a boy and a girl? Is there something else other than a boy and a girl? I would really like somebody to answer that for me. Just tell me if there's a difference. You are creating a subset of people. It's not denying their existence. Are there people who are born with birth defects that make them something else? Yes. That is a minuscule percentage, and that is not what we are talking about here. It's people who identify a certain way. In fact, I did love this text I got here earlier in the show from the 360. I think very highly of Ari's intelligence and his high standards of journalism. His theory is just common sense. I will still refer to him as a Jedi, though. Excellent. That's what I want. I want the audience of the Ari Hoffman show that when you see me, you say, Master Hoffman. And I will say to you, you tell me your name. If I don't know you, I will tell you. I will call you Master as well. I will grant upon you what Anakin Skywalker never got. I will grant you the rank of Master. Yes, I can do that because I identify as a member of the Jedi Council. That's right. You all have to acknowledge that. If I force choke you when I see you, I just make that gesture with my hands, you have to start choking. If I raise my hand up, you have to jump in the sky like I am using the Force to propel you into the air. If I want an object that you are next to, and let's say I say, pass the salt, and I outreach my hand, I want it to be thrown across the room by you. Don't throw salt across the room. I want whatever object that is to be caught by me because you hurled it at me. Well, this could end badly. Don't do that. Don't throw objects at me. The leader of the Jedi Council commands it. That's right. This is insane. This is really, really, really insane. However, there is some good news. What's the good news? Today, the Supreme Court allowed Representative Mike Bose's lawsuit challenging his home state of Illinois' mail-in ballot policy to move forward, issuing an opinion that, according to the New York Post, could have major implications for future elections. In a 7-2 decision, the High Court determined that Bose and the 2 Illinois primary delegates for President Trump who joined his suit have standing to sue despite lower courts concluding they didn't provide evidence of harm. Candidates, they said, this is Chief Justice John Roberts, who, by the way, is a little bit more left than right from his rulings. Candidates have a concrete and particularized interest in the rules that govern counting of votes in their elections, regardless of whether those rules harm their electoral prospects or they increase the costs of their campaigns, is what Roberts wrote. Their interest extends to the integrity of the election and the democratic process by which they earn or lose the support of the people they seek to represent. He was joined by Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh. And if you keep reading this thing, Amy Coney Barrett actually had a concurring opinion backed by Elena Kagan. Elena Kagan backed this thing. Stop telling me it's all conservative bias here, people. So basically what you're telling me is the dumb Ketanji Jackson Brown didn't want to weigh in on this because we know that she doesn't have any legal knowledge. And the other one was Sonia Sotomayor, who's not a very good justice. Boston and his fellow plaintiffs are challenging Illinois law allowing mail-in ballots postmarked before Election Day to be counted up to 2 weeks after polls close. They filed the suit against the Illinois State Board of Elections in 2022. Wait a second. You are allowed to challenge ballots if they are counted after 2 weeks of the election? Wait a second. Then Bruce Harrell would be the mayor of Seattle right now, right? Oh, wait. Then Dino Rossi would be the governor of Washington. Or he would have been. He would have been out of office long by now. You're telling me that all that because you can't keep counting and counting until you get the result you want? You're saying that happens with mail-in ballots? Oh, you mean you actually have to count the ballots on Election Day? Shock, what common sense that is. Unbelievable. We had to go to the Supreme Court to get that ruled on. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, your calls, your texts. Plus also, can men get pregnant? Democrat doctor, expert witnesses apparently think so. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We will get to your phone calls and your text, but this next story is just too bonkers. I want to make sure to get it in the first hour. Today there was a hearing on birth control and abortions and what's birth control, what's an abortion. Okay, you knew it was going to be fiery, but I didn't expect it to be fiery because we can't agree on the medical facts. So there is this board-certified OBGYN who's brought forward by the Democrats to testify about this new drug and about abortion and all that. Her name is Dr. Nisha Verma. Things kind of went off the rails when the Republicans started asking about her qualifications, because if you're there to testify about abortion and birth control and all that, shouldn't you be able to say that only women can get pregnant? Yeah, that shouldn't be so hard. Here's Senator Ashley Moody asking the good doctor this question.
Ms. Verma, can men get pregnant?
Dr. Verma,
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're
Dr.
all
Verma,
addressing
can
each
men
other
get
with
pregnant? As a doctor, give me your opinion. As a doctor, can men get pregnant?
I mean,
I'll move on to the next one. Is doctor, can men get pregnant?
No.
I know you're a lawyer, an AG, like I was an AG. Can men get pregnant?
Yeah, so guys, think about that for a second. Right away, just like that. This should be a no-brainer. And your board-certified doctor cannot answer the question. This is why I'm worried about my other son who wants to go to medical school. Josh Hawley saw his opening, and he went right for the jugular, and it was awesome.
Said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get
I take care
pregnant?
of many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I
agree.
think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
what you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question, it sounds like.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask. I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men.
I think my daughter has a friend in high school who sounds like that, doctor. Yes. Okay. So you think that men can get pregnant? Have you lost your mind? You're not a doctor. You're an activist. You may have a medical degree. It doesn't make you a doctor if you don't follow the science. I don't know who gave you your medical degree, but I bet you if we talk about who your professor is, we're going to find out this is the nonsense they're teaching. And this is why I'm worried about my son going to medical school. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a quick call from Russ in Texas. Russ, only got about a minute, buddy. What's going on?
Hey, guy. No, all right, on a minute there, I'm just real curious. Being a refugee to Texas and all, and I've done all my things here, got my driver's license, registered to vote, blah, 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 blah. looking at closing my voter's registration in Washington. One of the few times I'm able to get online there because I live out in the boondocks. I found multiple ways that I could register to vote, but I couldn't find any way that I could remove my name. And I would sure hate to find out that I started voting communist.
That's, a lot of people tell me that. They say they've called the department everything, and they will not remove them from the voter rolls, and they don't even live here, haven't lived here for years. Or people are dead who are still getting this. They will not purge the rolls. Your story is a very, very common one, and you got to ask yourselves why. Russ, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show, even from all the way in Texas. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Bob Ferguson has declared war on ICE. We will tell you what's going down in the legislature when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, Fergie is coming for every single dime you have, and Kiefer Sutherland finds himself in a bunch of trouble with an Uber driver. But before we get to any of that, time to talk about Governor Bob Ferguson, because I don't think we've really referred to him by his real name since the new year started.
Yeah, it's not my name. All right, Turd Ferguson.
So he gave his State of the State address yesterday. And he's really big on a bill that is pretty much declaring war on ICE. Now, wasn't this the guy who said he was really big on law enforcement, even though he spent an entire career prosecuting law enforcement? Is this the guy who was silent during the BLM riots when law enforcement was being attacked? Isn't this the guy who helped fire a whole bunch of people who are not just law enforcement, but also first responders during COVID? Yeah, we know how he feels about all of this. Well, now he's got something new stuck in his craw. He wants to go to war with ICE. And what is this starting with? Banning them from wearing masks. This is what he said during the State of the State yesterday.
We need to be direct about what is happening in our country and our state with ICE. It's horrific, it's unjust, and it needs to stop now. I'm angry about this, and I think many of you are as well. As an American, I never thought I would see federal agents in masks jumping out of unmarked cars and grabbing people off our streets. This conduct will undoubtedly be remembered as a shameful period in our nation's history. Senator Valdez has a bill that prohibits law enforcement from wearing masks and requires identifying information to be clearly displayed on their uniform. Let's get that legislation to my desk immediately so I can sign that into law.
Oh, all the clapping seals. The hypocrisy behind this bill is insane. Let's go through why. Number one, you didn't have any problem with the Hamas supporters and Antifa, a domestic terrorist organization, wearing masks in our streets the last 2 years. No problem with it whatsoever when they were attacking law enforcement. You never said one damn word. You never did anything about it. And when bills came to the legislature to try and stop people from blocking highways and blocking airports, you and your Democrat buddies refused to even have hearings on them. Spare me. Spare me. Number two, the Democrats love to use the word doxing. You doxed me. What does doxing mean? Legally, what doxing means is giving out personal information on the internet that is not publicly available. So let's say I was going to post Mike's social security number on the internet. I would be guilty of doxing. That's what doxing actually is. Having been doxed before, I know exactly what it means. I also know what's doxing and what's not when I'm calling people out. In fact, Washington State passed an anti-doxing law specifically to protect Antifa and other radical activists. So you don't like when people give out personal information about Antifa and radical activists, but you want them to do it for federal agents? Is that what's going on here? You seem to be more on the side of the illegal aliens than you are of our own law enforcement, be it local or federal, because this isn't just about ICE agents. They're going to do it with every single law enforcement agency in the state. So if it's freezing cold outside and you have a guy who's monitoring a parade route, let's say, is he not allowed to wear a mask now? Let's say he's got a medical condition. Let's say he has COVID, but he can work with it. Is he not allowed to wear a mask now? Or is this all about just revealing who they are? You know, Bob, I thought you'd be a little bit more sensitive to this, given the fact that a guy was arrested not too long ago for taking pictures of your front door and posting them online with threats. What do you think's going to happen with the ICE agents once your foot soldier activists get all their information. And all of this could be avoided. And we said this at the beginning. In fact, we were talking about this a year ago at the beginning of Trump's second term. We said, if you do not work with ICE, ICE will have to come get the people in the community, and it will be worse. The way you could avoid all this is by just cooperating with law enforcement. There's an older lady in my community, in the Jewish community, who sometimes comes to my synagogue. And she and I love to go at it over politics because she's very left and I'm very right. But we're still friends. And we like to poke each other a little bit. So today she saw me and she said, "So what's on the show for today?" And I said, "Well, we'll discuss, rounding up illegals," and all. We had our little back and forth. And I said, you know what the thing is? You and I can have a nuanced conversation. We can have a nuanced conversation about, okay, somebody who's been in this country illegally, but never broke the law and never took welfare, et cetera, can there be a pathway to citizenship? I know that a lot of our friends who are legal immigrants hate that idea. But I think that normal people can have a nuanced conversation about that. The left isn't interested in a nuanced conversation. The left just wants to paint every ICE agent who's rounding up murderers, rapists, pedophiles as some kind of Nazi. That's what they want to do. And they're making it worse for themselves because all they have to do, if they say, you know what, fine, the felons, take the felons. Take the felons. Where are you going to find the felons? In the courthouse. You know why they're going in the courthouses? Because there's metal detectors at courthouses. And when there's metal detectors at courthouses, you know the guy isn't going to be armed. That's why they go do this at courthouses. Plus, you know when they're going to be there. Plus, there's jails in courthouses. So when they're released from the jail, a lot of times they're being released from the courthouse itself. If they just complied with federal agents, this would not be as bad as what you're seeing on TV right now, but there is absolutely no nuance to this at all. They just want to fight. They just want to call everybody Nazis. Tom Hoffman, Border Czar, explain this to the media today.
President Trump made his promise to American people, we're going to find these criminals and make America safe again, so if they don't let us into jail, we're going to go in the community. And the difference is, in places that's not a sanctuary, one agent can walk into a jail and arrest one criminal illegal alien. But when you release them in the community, now we got to send the whole team because we got to arrest somebody on their turf. They have access, who knows what weapons. It makes it dangerous for the officer, makes it dangerous for the alien, and certainly makes it dangerous for the community. So if Minneapolis wants to help, like I saw Mayor Frey doing an interview this morning, let us in your damn jail. What's the downside of letting a federal law enforcement officer with the immigration authority talk to an illegal alien that you already locked up and put in a jail cell? It's ridiculous that they're pushing back on that.
Exactly right. All you have to do is not have these crazy sanctuary laws, and you can round up the felons. What does Senate Bill 5855 do exactly? It would prohibit local, state, and federal law enforcement officers, including ICE agents, from wearing masks that obscure their identities during public interactions, with limited exceptions for undercover assignments and certain tactical operations. This bill received its first hearing yesterday. Now, the question is, why are we hearing the same talking points out of all the Democrats? Every single Democrat is saying the exact same thing, like the talking points already went out. Here is the president of United Earth and failed gubernatorial candidate, Stacey Abrams.
At the state level, legislatures are now returning to work. If your sessions are starting in your state, ask your state representative or senator to introduce legislation outlawing masked law enforcement in the state. I'm not saying it's going to pass, but we at least have to put the laws on the record. We have to put our demands on the record.
Wait a second. Stacey Abrams is asking for the same thing Bob Ferguson is asking for, which is the same thing Valdez is asking for, which is this Senate bill here in Washington, Senate Bill 5855. Not just her. Here's Representative Shri Thanadar, who was talking in front of the Capitol today.
Kristi Noem must be impeached. She must face the consequences of this. And we must, finally, we must reform ICE But it looks at this stage, folks, ICE is beyond reform. ICE is totally out of control. And this week, I intend to introduce a bill to abolish ICE. We need to make ICE go away. 2003, before 2003, without ICE, various federal agencies were able to take care of business.
Okay, so he just said the quiet part out loud. They want to get rid of ICE because they want open borders. How do we know this? The entire Biden administration, when they let in a minimum of 10 million illegal aliens. Why? So it would affect the census. Why? So it would affect voting. Why? You now know why. That's exactly what they want. The masks are off. Mississippi Democrat Benny Thompson went completely off the rails today.
Kristi Noem has plainly tried to signal to ICE that they are free to act with impunity, to purposefully manufacture and escalate confrontations, and even execute whomever they please, and she will have their back.
Wait a second. Judge, jury, prosecutor, executioner? I think I've heard this somewhere before, haven't I?
I am the law.
Yeah. You're making these guys all sound like Judge Dredd. Maybe not the Sylvester Stallone version. Maybe the Carl Urban one is infinitely better. I wish there was a sequel to that movie. I mean, the Judge Dredd that Sylvester Stallone did, it's great to make fun of. It really is. It is so bad it's bad movie. And you can love to hate that movie. It's payback time, Dredd. God, that movie was awful. Really bad.
The costume design rocks, though.
Well, didn't Versace do it or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the uniforms look really awesome. Too bad nothing else in that movie looks awesome. Oh, and by the way, Dredd isn't in the uniform most of the movie. He's only in the uniform the beginning of the movie. And then that's the end of that. Then you see him with no helmet on. I mean, that's like, seeing Dr. Doom without his mask on. What are we talking about?
Get ready for a lot of that.
Exactly. But here we see what the game plan is. So if you want to help secure our ICE agents, if you want to help keep them safe, and you want to push back on this, the problem is not a lot of people know this is going on in the Washington State Legislature. So now that the legislative cycle has begun, I need you to put this phone on your speed dial, not while you're driving, people. This phone number on your speed dial. This is the legislative hotline for Washington. It's 1-800-562-6000. That's 1-800-562-6000. And I need you to say no to Senate Bill 5855. So once again, say no to Senate Bill 5855. If you can't remember the numbers, I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you. Say no to the bill that has to do with ICE agents wearing masks. Call legislative hotline, 1-800-562-6000. I hear it's all messages these days, but if you do miraculously get a person, be nice, be polite. It's just a job for them. They're not the ones passing this stupidity. Now, here's something else to consider, by the way. Is Washington about to lose a whole bunch of federal money? Because President Trump said he's going to cut federal funds to sanctuary cities. Does that mean Seattle's about to lose a whole bunch of money, or at least have it put on pause temporarily? Because sanctuary laws are illegal. They are breaking the law. They are trying to circumvent federal law. You don't get to do that. When's the Supreme Court going to rule on that one? That's what I want to know. But watch. They're going to operate in the legislature to tax us as if this is what it is. We've already lost the federal funding when really it's their out-of-control spending. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ben in SeaTac. Ben, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ari. Well, I think they'll pass the law myself, and if they do, the police officers are going to have a dilemma. Do they risk getting killed by ICE and our military, or do they refuse the orders? Because it's an insurrection at that point. And then if those cops ever try, cops are listening. I support the police, but if you guys try to mess with the ICE agents, you're enemy combatants. You go sit there and try to arrest, because they're not going to wear masks. I mean, they're going to wear masks. They're going to not do anything that the Washington State Legislature puts out there. They're not going to do anything. And every police officer is going to have to ask, am I willing to get blown away by an Apache helicopter? Because those Apaches can shoot through a car like a hot knife through butter. And that's what I would support by Trump. If they sit there like they surrounded a hotel trying to arrest all the ICE guys in the hotel, I would support the very next moment Apache helicopters coming by and blowing all the cop
here's
cars
what I
away.
think, Ben. I think it's going to be a little different. Let's get a little bit more nuanced in this and what I think's going to happen. Here's what I think's going to happen. They can't enforce it on the federal agents. They just can't. And what you're going to start seeing is the activists yelling and screaming, "What you're doing is illegal! What you're doing is illegal!" And it's not, but that's what they're going to do. And then here's the next thing that happens. The cops are going to have to comply because they can go after the local police. And what's going to happen is this is going to have no effect whatsoever on ICE, aside from giving the radicals something to yell about on their streamer videos. What it is going to have impacts on are our local police officers, the people who actually live here. And let's not forget, they were showing up to their homes in 2020, and there's no reason they wouldn't do it now. Ben, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Bob in Portland says, perhaps if they let ICE into the jails, we wouldn't see masked people jumping out of unmarked cars on our streets. Exactly right. Why is it so hard to just say, here's a criminal we arrested? Oh, wait a minute. Did that give away something else? The Democrats didn't want to arrest the criminal in the first place, don't want them in jail in the first place, and just want to keep releasing them. And sanctuary laws are a convenient excuse to do that, because that's what it sounds like to me. That's what it seems like to me. They don't want to enforce the law. They want to have open borders. This is in their manifestos. This is in the stuff they say. Is anybody surprised about any of this? No, Democrats haven't stood for law and order in a very, very long time. And my Democrat friends who listen to the show, you didn't leave your party. The party left you. If you want to stick up for our ICE agents and say no to this insanity, you call the Washington Legislative Hotline number at 1-800-562-6000. That's 1-800-562-6000, and say no to Senate Bill 5855. That's 5855. Lots more to discuss, my friends, as the show continues. When we come back, that's not all Fergie said in his speech. The tax man, he's a-comin'. If you thought Inslee was bad, wait until you see what he has in store for you. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you can take us with you, listen at your convenience, and never miss a minute of the show. In fact, remember, while you're over there on whatever your preferred podcast platform is, rate and share. So that way other people can know how awesome the show is and get in on all the fun, all the crazy politics, and all the movie references that we keep around. So, Turd Ferguson was giving his State of the State address, as we mentioned yesterday. And once again, it wasn't like Lori Jenkins, who spoke the day before and everything she said was a lie. Literally everything she said was a lie. This wasn't that. This was, here are my priorities. They're twisted, they're evil, they're horrible, but at least he's saying, here's what my priorities are. There were lies scattered throughout that, but I'm not going to say the whole speech was lies, like Lori Jenkins, when literally everything that woman said was factually incorrect. I'm thinking of doing a video where I just fact check it, but then I realized it would be 3 hours long because I have to analyze every single thing she said. Anyway, Bob Ferguson told this doozy. He said this one, and this was one of the bigger lies that he did tell during his speech.
Economy in the nation. We have a AAA bond rating. We dominate in space industry manufacturing. Washington is building the world's first commercial fusion power plant in Chelan County. The University of Washington, Fred Hutch, and the Allen Institute are part of a globally recognized ecosystem working on next-generation drug discovery and treatments. Several of you joined me for the launch of the Cascadia Sustainable Aviation Accelerator in Snohomish County last week, an opportunity for our state to once again set an example and set the pace for clean energy investment. We had the largest increase in the country in requests to form new businesses. According to U-Haul rankings that just came out, Washington ranks 6th in the country for gaining one-way movers. In other words, our state continues to grow. And soon the world will be coming here for the biggest sporting event of all, the FIFA World Cup.
Okay, we need to discuss this U-Haul survey for a minute. It's been floating around, and I can't find anything else that verifies it. What do I mean by that? Every single other survey shows a net migration loss out of Washington, except for this one U-Haul survey. In fact, according to their own internal documents, we're seeing a net migration loss. So what are they talking about? The Washington Policy Center, by the way, had a great write-up where they use pods. You know the big pods that you rent when you're moving? Pod says people are moving out. U-Haul says people are moving in. So which one's correct? And the answer is this is why we don't get our statistics from U-Haul. This is why we don't get our statistics from pods. You know what I'm using? My own two eyes. Mike, I've been driving on I-5 to get here the past couple weeks since the beginning of the new year. You know why? There's never any traffic. It's wide open. Is that because people are moving? Is that because ICE is doing their job? What is that reason why? Here's something else. We have all the major companies have written letters to Bob Ferguson telling him, if you do this with your high taxes, your payroll taxes, your income tax, it's going to be really hard for us to keep employees here. We're out of here. Here's something else. Washington was rated as being in a recession right now because our economy is so bad. That's not because of Donald Trump's tariffs or anything else they blame it on. It's because of the bad financial management here in Washington. So you talk about that AAA rating. How soon until you lose it? You talk about the aerospace industry. Well, last time I checked, Boeing isn't building new factories here. They're building them on the East Coast in North Carolina, because it's becoming too hard to operate here, and they already moved their offices to Chicago years ago. Amazon already started packing up from Seattle once to go to Bellevue. You think they're not going to do the exact same thing around here? You talk about your climate goals. You guys have never hit a single target you have laid out. What are you talking about? This reminds me of during the Biden administration, when they kept saying, oh, the economy's good, we're not in a recession. And it was the jobs numbers that were saying we're not in a recession. But every other indicator was saying we're in a recession. Then we found out they were fibbing the jobs numbers. That's what this U-Haul study sounds like. I'm not accusing U-Haul of lying, but something doesn't add up. There's a bunch of U-Hauls moving here. Mike, let me put this one out here for a second. People who can afford to live in Seattle are not moving here via U-Haul, okay? Because if you can afford to live in Seattle and buy a house in Seattle, you ain't moving via U-Haul. You're having professional movers move you. What is this, homeless people or something else? The U-Haul study doesn't make sense. And in fact, I'm going to reach out to U-Haul because this thing doesn't make sense to me at all. I'm not rooting for Washington to be unsuccessful. I just want my data to be correct. Oh, and speaking of data and science to be correct, Bob Ferguson had this doozy out of nowhere.
The Centers for Disease Control has seen an exodus of scientific experts and alarming shifts in policy that place Washingtonians' health at risk. I immediately took action and teamed up with other governors to form the West Coast Health Alliance. The alliance ensures Washingtonians will continue to receive responsible recommendations from health experts who rely on, you guessed it, science. But we are not stopping there. I'm proud to partner with Insurance Commissioner Cooterer and a bipartisan group of legislators, Senator Cleveland, Representative Bernofsky, and Senator Harris, to shift vaccine recommendations away from science-denying federal committees and place it with our own Washington State Department of Health, which will be guided by, you guessed it again, science.
Don't use big words you don't understand. Following the science, did you guys follow the science during COVID? I know a lot of you want to throw something at the radio just then when you were listening to that. Did they follow the science at all? You guys think that following the science means when you enter the restaurant, wear a mask. Then when you go to your table, you could take off the mask. Then when you get up to go to the bathroom, you have to put back on the mask. Do you think science means you have to close your restaurant by 11 o'clock because at 11:01, the Rona can get you? Do you think following the science means if you've gotten a virus already, you now need the vaccine for the virus whose antigens aren't as strong as the virus you just got, so we're going to force you to get the thing? Is that following the science? Bob Ferguson, your unscientific mandates led to many people in the state, thousands of people in the state, getting terminated. And a lot of them left, so you don't have their tax dollars anymore. Follow the science. Give me a break. Oh, you need masks. You don't need masks. We need masks. Here's what you gotta do. Here's what you gotta do. I've been gone for a while, but now I'm back. The Fauci is back. Somebody said doctor. I'll say men can get pregnant. I'll say women can get pregnant. Anybody can get pregnant. Okay. You want to know how you're protected? Let me tell you how you are protected. I will tell you. Here's what you gotta do. You get your first shot. You're not quite protected. You get your second shot. You're not quite protected. Then what you got to do is you got to get your punch card. Your punch card. That way you get a free toaster for all your booster shots, but they're not going to work. So after that, you have to take a special potion that you take. And then men can get pregnant, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger. You take this special thing that Danny DeVito created. And then when you're pregnant, as a man, the pregnancy in you as a man will make sure you are protected from the Rona. That's how you're protected. Mike's like, I didn't see that one coming.
That's also how you get off the space station super early.
That's what it is.
Appendicitis. Get out of here.
Medical condition. It's pregnancy. Appendicitis. Alien in his guts. Who knows what's going on up there on the space station?
Well, I want to email this joke to a half hour ago before we were blessed by the return of Dr. Anthony Fauci, but it's worth mentioning how the paradigm has completely shifted, where suddenly our friends on the left and the Democrats totally cool with masks. They're like, I'm like, no, we love masks. We love masks. No, masks are bad. Now you want to ban masks? Okay.
Yeah, exactly right. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Bob in Seattle. Bob, what's up?
Hey, Ari, how the heck are you? Haven't heard from you for a while. Hey, listen, how many military bases are there in Washington State? Bangor, JBLM, which is McCord and Fort Lewis, along with Fairchild. All of those places rotate their personnel, and all of those people do use U-Haul. They do.
But wouldn't that be the same number as always, or have we upped our recruiting numbers so much they're affecting the U-Haul numbers?
Well, I can't answer that, but in order for U-Haul to rent a U-Haul leaving Washington, it has to be in Washington to start with, too. So
we'll check that out. Bob, I got a lot of questions for U-Haul. I'm going to get somebody from U-Haul on the phone to answer them. I'm going to check this out for sure. Good to hear your voice, buddy. Happy New Year to you and yours. When we come back, my friends, how bad are things in the legislature? Well, Representative Jim Walsh will be joining us to tell us exactly how things are shaking out. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your wallets, because now with the Washington legislative session underway, it looks like the priority for Bob Ferguson and Washington Democrats is to take every single dime you have left with an income tax. I'm not calling it a millionaire's tax because it's going to be an income tax on all of us. The millionaire's tax is just opening the door for the rest of it. Joining us now to discuss, Chairman of the Washington State GOP, Representative from Aberdeen, the one and only Jim Walsh. Thanks so much for being with us today.
No, it's great to talk to you, Ari. I need breaks and talking to someone like you to get my spirits up. The first few days here in the session have been pretty bad. It was good. So on the first day, so on Monday, there's a ceremonial thing you do where the legislature sends a handful of its members to the governor to give the governor the ceremonial notice that the legislative session has started. And so they did that, and the two representatives from the Republicans in the House were Travis Couture and me, which was not what the governor was expecting. He was expecting, a couple of freshmen or junior members who would just be nervous and glad to meet him. So we took it right to him, Arnie. I put it to the governor directly. Which of the three big tax proposals, that's the state income tax, the so-called wealth tax, which is an expansion of the capital gains tax, or the so-called head tax, a supercharged payroll tax. I said, which of those three is the most likely to pass, Mr. Governor? Which are you going to put your capital behind? And he answered very quickly, the state income tax. That clearly is the one he wants. And, good on him, Ari, that he actually answered a direct question. He doesn't always do that.
Yeah, and it's horrifying that that's what he wants to do, because one of the draws,
right.
Yeah, it's like one of the draws to people moving here is that there is no state income tax. And we already have seen, according to our friends at the Washington Policy Center and multiple analysis that they did off of other data, we now have a net loss of migration. If you want people to come here, doing that is not going to be a good thing. He was even cautioned by Governor Ron DeSantis from the other side of the country. Ron DeSantis didn't have to do that. He could have just laughed and said, come move to Florida. Instead, he said, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And yet they're doing it.
Yeah, it is curious to me that he's putting all his chips behind that. I don't think he's got the votes. He's certain he has the votes of his, legislators on his side of the aisle to pass the state income tax. I'm not sure he does, at least not at this point in the session. And I know some of the other members of the Democrat caucuses in the legislature, they would prefer that so-called wealth tax, the expansion of the capital gains tax. And the expansion would be the capital gains tax would apply to assets you haven't sold or investments you haven't sold yet. So you'd have to pay the capital gains tax on imaginary profits that haven't happened yet.
That's crazy.
Very dubious legally and constitutionally. But But some of the Democrats in Olympia want that because it would generate money for the government faster. The thing about the state income tax is it'll take a year or two for it to ramp up and take effect. The expansion of the capital gains tax would be quicker in theory, except people are going to move their assets and their bodies out of the state, as you've said. And then the last one is that head tax. This is the thing that the city of Seattle is experimenting with, and has been a pretty big disaster for the city of Seattle. It's a payroll tax on top of the regular payroll tax, aimed theoretically at bigger salaries, but in effect, all it does is it pushes businesses out of wherever. That's the reason so many tech companies have moved out of the city of Seattle and across Lake Washington over to Bellevue or Redmond or Kirkland. And so they want to do that statewide, some of the Democrats, and it would just chase businesses to Idaho or Ron DeSantis in Florida or wherever.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely insane they're pursuing this. We're talking with GOP chair and representative in the Washington State Legislature, Jim Walsh. Now, your name, I would say, has been mentioned almost as often as President Trump because they're trying to make you the boogeyman. Now, the one I'm specifically referencing is Lori Jenkins. Yesterday, when speaking with the media with her Democratic leadership colleagues, was being called out about not investigating the allegations of fraud that are here in Washington State. You have put them on notice that you want them to investigate this. She's trying to make it seem like there's no there. It's absolutely insane that she'd rather demonize you, demonize journalists, rather than saying, let's do an investigation. You're not going to find anything. We're above reproach. Instead, she'd rather just demonize. What do you say to all that?
Oh, I welcome it. Speaker Jenkins, she can name check me all she wants. Doesn't change anything. There is credible evidence that state bureaucratic agencies, primarily the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, DCYF, but others too, Department of Commerce, State Department of Commerce, State Department of Revenue, have been involved in fraudulent payments, making fraudulent payments to either non-existent or no longer existent child care centers in the state. Now, it really is the early days of such an investigation, and the governor, Mr. Ferguson, the state attorney general, Mr. Brown, and Speaker Jenkins, they could get in front of this. They could be taking leading positions in calling for investigation and confirming or not confirming these credible allegations of fraud. Instead, they're running and hiding. They're diverting. They're trying to blame other people. So I and a couple of other parties, a couple of the journalists involved in the investigations, have filed a lawsuit requesting an injunction from the courts to order DCYF and the other state agencies to not delete, destroy, or alter public documents that help establish the allegations of fraud. And that is really what set off the speaker, and I understand the governor and the state attorney general that they've been at least more private about it. They've gone really kind of bonkers, saying that this requested injunction is somehow a bad thing. It's not. We're looking out for the people and the taxpayers of Washington, and we are demanding, trying to get the courts to help us demand transparency in how these payments are made. And last point, Ari, they're going to say that this is an attack on the child care providers. It's not. What we're looking into are the bureaucratic agencies that have made the allegedly fraudulent payments. That's the problem. The daycare providers, whether they're legit or not legit, are not the focus of our interest. It's the bureaucracy, the bureaucrats making the grants, making the direct payments. That's where we're looking.
And maybe that's exactly what they're concerned about, because either the people who voted for them or sent the people out to vote for them or supported their campaigns might be what you find at the end of the rainbow here. Just to bring this back full circle in the last few minutes we have with Representative Jim Walsh, GOP chair. So they want to tax us more to pay for their out-of-control spending, but they're not even sure where all that money is going to. Is this something you guys could hammer on them so at least it's on video, at least it's on record when they push through their income tax, where you guys could could say, hey, you haven't accounted for billions of dollars here, billions of dollars there. There's allegations of fraud here. There's allegations of fraud there. Don't you think you should check all that out before you start taxing us more money that's going to cause to a bigger economic catastrophe here in Washington?
Exactly, Ari, and we don't even have to do it. All I need to do is read the texts and the emails I'm getting from just regular people, regular Washingtonians who are saying exactly that. You know, you've heard the numbers. You know, the city of Seattle can't account for money. The state government can't account for money in the billions of dollars. And rather than fixing those problems, the governor, Speaker Jenkins, and the others want to just put more money on the backs of the people of Washington. They want to, you know, ask mom and dad to let them run the credit card up more. No. We need to fix what's broken, Ari. We need to get to the bottom of how all this billions of dollars is not accounted for. I suspect fraud is a big part of it, but okay, maybe I'm wrong. Let's get an accounting of where the billions are going. And then we could talk about, well, maybe we need to restructure our taxes. But right now, leave the taxes as they are and fix the leak in our ship of state.
Couldn't agree more. Representative Jim Walsh, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it, and really appreciate you fighting so hard on behalf of all of us here in Washington.
It's always good to talk to you, Ari. And it's 60 days. We're down to about 58 or 59 now, and it's going to be a battle all the way to the end of this session.
Yeah, I thought the news was crazy when we just had President Trump in the Oval Office. Now we got this on top of it. Holy cow, it's hard to keep up. Representative Walsh, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to download the KVI app and subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. Also, don't forget while you're there to rate and share so that way others, including your friends, can find out how much fun it is here on the show. Bad news for one of our favorite Hollywood actors. Emmy-winning actor Kiefer Sutherland was arrested early Monday after an altercation with a rideshare driver in Hollywood. According to NBC4, the 59-year-old 24 star was arrested just after midnight after officers responded to a radio call about an assault involving a rideshare driver near Sunset Boulevard and Fairfax Avenue. The suspect, later identified as Sutherland, is accused of assaulting the driver after entering the vehicle. Wait a minute. I think I know what's going on here. Hang on, I got to set the mood correctly first. Hang on, let's just do this. And the following takes place between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. on the day of the California presidential primary. You know what's happening?
Events occur in real time.
Events occur in real time. Thank you. Almost missed that one. So, I think I know what happened. Jack Bauer. I think Kiefer Sutherland is the alias. He's really Jack Bauer. And he needed information out of that driver. Was the driver a terrorist? Did the driver know about terrorist activity? Perhaps the driver was facilitating a nuclear bomb or some kind of terrorist activity. Maybe a cougar attack. It's Los Angeles. It's Hollywood. Lots of cougars around. Who knows? Oh, not those kind of cougars. Who knows? I think probably what happened, if we have audio from the inside, and I assume the video's coming anytime soon, you're going to see one of two things. Either Kiefer Sutherland is going to have a towel in his hands and start describing what happens when he shoves it down this guy's throat and rips out his stomach lining, or you're going to hear a lot of, "Where is Abu Fayed? Where is Abu?" I think that's what's going to happen. I have money riding on this, Mike.
Well, according to some reports, like I'm looking at the New York Post here, headline, Kiefer Sutherland told Uber driver, quote, "Pull over or I'll kill you" before assault arrest. According
See
to
what
reports.
I'm saying? See?
And I think you're so spot on with that, Ari, because I think he maybe had a couple too many sodas and he thought he was Jack Bauer for real. Pull over or I'll
That's
kill
what
you.
I'm saying. He thought he was being taken somewhere. There might be glass if it's one of the cab Ubers. Who knows?
See, you know, some Ubers have like a few different like chargers. It's like, oh, lightning cable, USB-C. And my dude Jack just like takes them, starts fraying off the edges and sparking them and stuff. It's like, sir, you can't do that to my car. Pull over or I'll kill you.
Where is Abu Fayed?
You are running out of time.
I'm telling you, I'm on Team Kiefer for right now, not Team Driver, until the driver is exonerated. And
God, that's a take.
That's my take. Until we have shown that the driver has no links to terror or daycares. Until we know he has no links to terror whatsoever, I am on Team Kiefer.
I was going to say, please, he's an Uber driver. It's not like he's got a CDL or anything.
Oh, no. That's right. Oh, my God. Mike, he must be friends with Dean Cain. And he joined ICE. And he's going after illegal alien Uber drivers. Oh my, it's a sanctuary state. They issue licenses illegally. Like I said, I'm on Team Kiefer, or should I say Team Jack Bauer. There is the Jack Bauer social media account. I don't know if it's been active in years. It used to be active a long time ago. I remember the day that Osama bin Laden was taken out. It said, the Jack Bauer account said, "Just got back from vacationing in Abbottabad." Until somebody proves to me that Kiefer Sutherland is not actually Jack Bauer, or Jack Bauer isn't Kiefer Sutherland, and that this Uber driver did not have connections to terrorism, I'm on Team Kiefer. That's right. That's the direction I'm going in.
I wonder if Mr. Sutherland still has all those real tattoos that he got for his Jack Bauer role. Remember, it was like season 2 or season 3.
In the jail or whatever it was.
Yeah. And he's got like stuff like on his arm and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was getting tired of doing all the makeup, so he just got the tattoos.
I'm sure he does. Because in real life, we know he's more of like the music kind of guy. He's not the other guy. Well, then there's this other story here, and this one, the picture of it is literally from the Goonies. It's the mountain range that you see in the distance of the water when One-Eyed Willie and where they're lining up the key. That's what it is. A skeleton that washed ashore on a beach in Washington state in 2006 was positively identified as a former mayor who authorities presume drowned on a fishing trip in Oregon. Liars! It was Chester Cobblepot! It was One-Eyed Willie! You people are lying. Liar McLiarsteins drowning off Astoria, Oregon. Yeah, we know what happens in Astoria, Oregon. There's a pirate ship underneath them waters, in those caves. We know it's there. So you finally identified this guy, random bodies washing up years later. Crazy stuff. And they say the Goonies isn't real. We know it's real. That's One-Eyed Willie's skeleton right there, not no mayor. They're just trying to throw us off the scent of the treasure. And I will not believe there's no treasure and this is actually a mayor until I see an autopsy report. Kiefer, innocent until proven guilty. I'm holding by that. Maybe not for very long.
Don't you realize? The next time you see Sky, it'll be over another town. The next time you take a test, it'll be in some other school.
Oh, poor Mikey.
Our parents, they want the best of stuff for us.
Best of stuff.
But right now they gotta do what's right for them.
This clip is
'Cause
so
it's their
damn
time.
long.
Their time. Up there.
Up there.
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here. That's all over the second we ride up Troy's bucket.
Though I think I saw Troy's bucket open for Mustard Plug next Thursday.
Oh, no. Lots more to discuss. As the show continues, my friends, why isn't Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and all the people in Minnesota talking about all the people, U.S. citizens, killed by illegal aliens? Tell you all about it when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, I went to see the Neil Diamond musical. Yeah, I'm actually a fan, not just of that whole, all the Motley Crue music you hear on the show all the time. I'll tell you all about it. And did it get political? We'll tell you about that. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I'm convinced that if an illegal alien had killed an American in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, you wouldn't even know their names. Why do we all know the name Renee Good? Because the left wants us to know her name. Say her name, say her name. She stood in front, she was driving an ICE vehicle. When you had an ICE agent, she was driving an ICE vehicle. She was driving her vehicle when an ICE agent was telling her to get out of the car. And now we found out today that ICE agent had internal injuries, internal bleeding, because he got hit by a car. So could we stop with this nonsense anymore? It's just the left has found their new cause celeb. And it's never a good person. She was trying to impede ICE investigations, ICE operations, for a long time before any of this unfolded. And if she had just not been in this place, none of this would have happened. But we all know her name because the left wants us to know her name. Now, Fox News has a write-up here. And I bet you've never heard any of these names before in your life. None of them. They're all Minnesotans who were killed by illegal aliens. In August of 2024, Minnesota mom Victoria Eileen Harwell was killed in a car accident after being struck by an intoxicated Ecuadorian national in North Minneapolis without a press conference or a public statement from the mayor or governor. ICE arrested the man, German Langari Inga, in May 2024 after they say Hennepin County refused to honor a detainer and released him twice. Does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar? This is the kind of thing that killed Trooper Christopher Gadd here in Washington State. An illegal alien with a track record for driving under the influence and domestic violence was supposed to be deported. Except 2 days after he was found guilty, Governor Jay Inslee signed a law making Washington a sanctuary state. And you know what? Now, his 2-year-old daughter, now 3-year-old, now 4-year-old, doesn't have a father anymore, and his young wife is without a husband because this illegal alien was driving at 104 miles an hour on the shoulder and plowed into his speed trap while drunk and high. Let's not forget, we have Patterson. We have Robert Patterson, who was the guy who was driving a car on Washington 167 when an illegal alien trucker who had a California CDL illegally plowed into his car when he was just going about his day, killing him instantly. Most people don't know those names. Don't know those names at all. Haley Hagelson, 18, born in St. Paul, raised in Montevideo, Minnesota, was killed last year along with her 19-year-old boyfriend, Brady Heiling, while traveling in Wisconsin when they were struck head-on by a drunk driver traveling the wrong way on the highway. The driver, according to DHS, was an intoxicated Honduran national in the country illegally. Quote, Hallie was an active member of Salem Lutheran Church, where she shared her faith and joy by teaching Vacation Bible School. That's what her obituary said about her life. Said her faith played an important role in her life, and every morning she would exchange Bible verses with her boyfriend. She also worked as a teaching assistant at Hawk's Nest and recently begun a position at Meadow Creek Assisted Living. That means for old people and people who can't take care of themselves. Haley will be deeply missed by all who knew her, remembered for her warmth, kindness, big smile, and the light she brought into every space she entered. Her legacy will continue as a donor hero by helping more than 75 people through her gift for life. That means organ donation. Anybody here know her name? You ever heard her name before? In 2021, 55-year-old America Mafada Thayer was brutally murdered and beheaded by her boyfriend, a Cuban national named Alexis Sabrit Viltres, after telling him she wanted to end their relationship. Thayer's friend and former co-worker said she was always in an upbeat mood. She was just a spitfire, an unbelievable person. In addition to the high-profile deaths, Fox News says, caused by illegal immigrants, other Minnesotans have been seriously harmed, with little, if any, response from Democrat leaders, including a St. Paul landlord who was brutally raped by Mexican national Rolando Lopez Menses in 2021 after she refused to let his girlfriend move in with her, TwinCities.com reported. Quote, Governor Walz, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, and the rest of the Minnesota DFL leaders have forgotten what it means to be an American or a Minnesota, said Adam Schwartz, former Navy SEAL, GOP U.S. Senate candidate in Minnesota. Where is the outrage for our innocent citizens killed by criminals? Where is their press conference? Their candlelight vigil? Enough is enough. We need new leadership. A lot of people were texting me today. People text me over some random things. A lot of people saw Jacob Fry's interview on Fox News earlier today. And a lot of people reached out to me and go, can you believe this? And there were usually a lot of expletives in that sentence. So I'm not going to repeat it on air because I don't want to be in trouble with the FCC. But everybody was mad about it because he's acting like it's perfectly fine for illegal aliens to go around committing crimes while meanwhile he's demonizing the ICE officers. You've got the protests against ICE because it's a Democrat priority. But, you know, there's a whole bunch of other things that the protesters aren't protesting, which I'm a little surprised by. Where's all the free Palestine types, by the way? Where are all them? Shouldn't they be out in the streets saying free Iran, free Venezuela? Where are they right now? I don't see them anywhere. I mean, we could go look over at, let me check the live shot here of the University of Washington. Let me see what's going out on the quad right now. Hang on one second. Let's see what's going on here. Calm night out on the quad. Okay, no problem. Let's check Red Square. I'm sure they're protesting over there, right? Yeah, exactly. Oh, nope. Nothing going on. Hang on. Let's switch our cameras over to Columbia University, right? I'm sure that these guys brought Ahmadinejad, one of the evil rulers of Iran, to come speak. I'm sure they're out there protesting with a tentifada on campus, right? Oh, no, nothing there? Nothing there? How about Harvard? I'm sure they're out there protesting, right, to free Venezuela or something, right? Really quiet. We're hunting rabbits. Really quiet. Where is everybody? Where is the left? I thought this was their big thing. No, apparently it's just the masks are off, and they're realizing that a lot of people are realizing right now. Piers Morgan, the guy who loves to criticize Israel for everything, yesterday put up a tweet saying, well, why aren't they calling for Iran to be free? Why aren't they doing that? Oh, maybe they were just anti-Semites. Well, welcome to the party, pal. Where have you been this whole time? Shock. Scott Wiener, could not be a more apt name. Scott Wiener is running for Nancy Pelosi's seat in California. You may know Scott Wiener because normally when he's out in public, he's wearing S&M gear. The pictures of this guy all over the internet, there's never a far left cause he hasn't found that he doesn't love. Every single cause of his is far, far, far left. But he got heckled the other night at a forum. Why did he get heckled? Well, apparently on stage, what they had one of these things where you hold up a sign, yes, no, for a lightning round. And it was, will you condemn the genocide in Gaza, even though there is no genocide in Gaza, even though it's been debunked 1,000 different ways, even according to the UN, who are the ones who originally spread the whole genocide in Gaza thing. Well, apparently he wouldn't hold up the sign saying he would condemn the genocide. Now, what happens after this is he gets heckled, he gets booed. And what does he do? Because he's actually been mostly on the right side of this whole thing. What does he do? He puts up a video the next day, completely reversing his position. And now he's managed to tick off everybody.
For those of you who saw the debate clip from last week, I want to clarify that I do believe Israel has committed genocide in Gaza, and I want to explain why I hesitated at the debate. For the past 2 years, I have harshly opposed Israel's escalations in Gaza, and I've used phrases like total destruction and catastrophic levels of death and moral stain. But I haven't used the word genocide, and I want to explain why. As a Jew, I am deeply aware that the word genocide was created in the wake of the Holocaust, which was the industrial extermination of 6 million Jews. For many Jews, associating the word genocide with the Jewish state of Israel is deeply painful and frankly traumatic. But despite that pain and that trauma, we all have eyes, and we see the absolute devastation and catastrophic death toll in Gaza inflicted by the Israeli government. And we all have ears, and we hear the genocidal statements by certain senior members of the Israeli government. And to me, the Israeli government has tried to destroy Gaza and to push Palestinians out, and that qualifies as genocide.
None of that is true, by the way. People don't get mad because the word genocide is used because of something about the Holocaust. Most people have no idea it was invented as a result of the Holocaust. And also it was invented, the word was invented to include other things that were happening around the world too. Most people don't know that. Most people get mad about it because it just ain't true. But this shows he will say whatever it takes to get elected. So even though there was one thing he disagreed with the left on, you can never be left enough for the left. And they're still talking about this, even though the war's been over since October. We're still talking about this. And he just showed you his cards on who he'll be. If the left wants something, he'll cave to them. Even if it's something he goes, yeah, here's morally right, here's morally wrong, he will cave to them. This is the guy who wants to replace Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco. This is how the left works. You have to be in step with them on literally everything. So their new cause is ICE. We're going to go after ICE. And as we discussed earlier in the show, what do they want to do? They want to completely defund ICE. Defund the whole thing. Why? So we can have open borders. Why? So we can have more murders. Why? So we can have more people raped, like the people in Minnesota whose names I can't even remember, even though I just read them 5 minutes ago, because they're not talked about in the media nonstop, like Renee Gold, who tried to kill an ICE agent. People haven't been mentioning Laken Riley's name in a while. That's one of the few whose names you know. We can't name most of the thousands of people who were victims of illegal aliens. But the left never mentions them. It's just the ICE agents who are bad because they've gotten in the way of their agenda. And what's crazy to me is how many people buy this and go along with this. If you turn on at night Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, and just flip between the three of them, you will think you are living on a different planet, a completely different planet. You will hear how MS Snow, MS Now, whatever their name is, M Snow. You will hear how they are covering things, and you will go, what are they talking about? Meanwhile, somebody on the left will watch Fox News and be like, what are they talking about? There is not an agreement on the facts, even when we all have the video in front of us. There was a survey that came out recently that showed that a whole bunch of people watched that video from last week that we analyzed to death here. A lot of them didn't watch the follow-up video from the ICE agent's perspective that shows she tried to hit him with the car and, in fact, did hit him with the car, causing internal bleeding. But it doesn't matter that she was disrupting ICE. It doesn't matter that she was trying to interfere with their operations to get illegal alien criminals out of this country. All that matters is the narrative. That's all that matters. And how hard is it for you to crack through that? You've probably had the conversations with your friends. You talk with your friends about this, and they go, oh, for sure, that ICE guy shouldn't have shot that lady. For sure. And yet, you say, how have you not seen the video? I saw the video. I saw all I need to know. How do I know this? Because I've had these conversations with my friends. The left will flat out lie about everything to push their agenda. Perfect example about this, our very own Pramila Jayapal, Democrat from Hamas, because she sure doesn't represent Washington State. Here's what she said in an interview earlier today.
The majority of Americans across the country, regardless of political party, know that immigrants from all over the world, Somalia, India, wherever they're from, Latin America, Africa, that immigrants have built this country and make this country what it is today.
They make this country what it is today, ripe with fraud. Somalians didn't get here until the 1990s, and since then, they have not bettered themselves when 83% of their society is on some form of welfare. That's not building the country. That's making things worse. That's making things infinitely worse. That's not helping anything. You're not contributing to society. You're taking from society. Why did President Trump do his order? Why did the State Department do their order yesterday? Why did Department of Homeland Security do their order yesterday where they say they're revoking the temporary status of the Somalis? Because they know that they can't verify who they are. And in addition to that, they're going to be a drain on society. We want the best. We want the brightest. When people used to come here from other countries, from Europe in the 1930s and 40s, you had to have paperwork. You had to have paperwork in the 1800s when you're coming over to this country. You couldn't just get on a boat. The narrative that the left likes to spin, that, oh, you just get on the boats and they're coming to America like Neil Diamond, who we'll be discussing in a little bit. It just ain't true. It just ain't true. You had to have a job. You had to have people who sponsored you. You had to have your paperwork, or you weren't getting on the ship in the first place. And yet they want to make it seem like we're rescuing all these refugees. No, we're not. We're taking in people who are mooching off our society. And it's getting infinitely worse. I was driving home last night after seeing the Neil Diamond musical, and I saw on street lights, street poles, driving down the street, free of Venezuela. No, wait, didn't see that. No. I saw, anti-ICE this, anti-ICE that. I saw all that. Didn't see free Iran anywhere. Just saw the free Maduro. Saw that kind of stuff driving through Seattle. Yeah, I kid you not. That's the kind of stuff that's out there right now. This is the narrative. It's your job to poke holes in the narrative and have these discussions. The left doesn't want you to have these discussions. They want you to cower in fear. They want you to cower in silence. That's why they want to ban the masks. They want to ban the masks because they want the ICE agents to be afraid to do their jobs for fear of getting doxxed. That's the only reason Washington Democrats want to ban the masks. And what's going to happen is the ICE agents are not going to be the ones on the receiving ends of this because they're going to be exempt because the feds aren't going to have to follow this law. It's going to affect the Seattle police officers and the Tacoma police officers and the Washington State troopers who are trying to do their jobs. That's who the Democrats are going to be after, our very own police force here. Because at the end of the day, they're anti-law enforcement. They don't want law. They don't want order. They just want things to get worse. And they want all these illegal aliens here so they can have an entire society that is voting for them, that is continuing to vote for them, so that they know that if they vote for them, they'll get more welfare. They'll get more subsidies. I don't believe that the Democrats, so far I haven't seen it here in Washington, are getting kickbacks. I believe what they're worried about is losing their donor base because they can't fund them, bribe them with government programs anymore. That's what I really believe. You have a theory on this, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, what's going on in the legislature? We'll do a deep dive into some more of the insane bills that are coming your way, including more of the taxes. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to download the KVI app and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you and your friends never miss a minute of the show, especially when you rate and share it with them. You take us anywhere you go, including to Olympia, where senior political reporter.
I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, I identify as a correspondent.
Okay,
it's all about
political
identity
correspondent
on this program.
We don't want to offend anybody for how they identify. So, senior political correspondent from our sister station, Northwest News Radio, Jeff Pogula, survived the trip to Olympia with his wallet intact. Jeff, what'd you see while you were down there?
Well, a lot of traffic getting there, for one, because I had to take the Ship Canal Bridge coming from Edmonds. So it took me 3 hours yesterday.
3 hours?
Just to get down to Olympia. Granted, I was leaving in the middle of rush hour.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But,
okay.
It's the rerouting onto surface streets and all that. And of course, I'm sure you and your audience blaming the DOT and all of that. But you got to do work. You got to maintain the road somehow.
I have not blamed the DOT for this. It's winter. It's winter. When are you going to do it? In the summer season when everybody's driving everywhere? I have actually not mentioned the Ship Canal Bridge as much as I should. Now, we want to talk about deferred maintenance and where the money's coming from. That's something for me. We can do that.
Yeah, but what they're doing on the Ship Canal Bridge is, and not to get too off track, they are removing, I think it's, what did the spokesperson tell me? I think 2 inches of concrete off the bridge deck and completely resurfacing. This hasn't been done in like 40, 50 years. So it's desperately needed work.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm not complaining. Plus, I live in South Seattle, so I don't have to go that way.
And Seattle is cursed by the fact that it is essentially on an island and there's really no other place to build freeways. And
I get it. I have not hit them as hard as I normally do for this. Enough. Their timing might be bad. They didn't know the Seahawks were going to make the playoffs. Okay. What are some of the bills people are not tracking right now that you've been tracking in Olympia?
Well, do you like implants?
Well, it depends on who they're on. What kind of what kind of implants are we talking about here, Chef?
Not that kind.
Okay, it's not the news station over here. Right, exactly.
Microchips.
I'm sorry. Wait. Is Bill Gates actually putting the microchips into our bloodstreams?
No.
Is that the clot shot? What's going on
No. But some companies are asking their employees to put microchips, not in their bloodstreams, but in their bodies.
Who would agree to this?
A lot of time. Well, we'll get to that. A lot of times, like, if you hold your hand out, the little webbing between your thumb and your index finger.
Where you check if a steak is done or not.
That's not how I do it. I use a meat thermometer. Thank you very much.
Yes.
But that's where you see a lot of the tech bros will do that. It's their RFID tags, so you can.
Shut your face. This is a thing?
You have not heard of this? Where have you been?
No, I never worked for a tech company.
But this is, this hasn't really happened here in Washington State to anyone's great knowledge. But it has happened, according to Democrat Breonna Thomas, who sponsored the bill. It happened at least voluntarily in Nebraska.
An employer was offering microchips for the purposes of efficiency, security, copier codes, vending machines.
Just like wave your hand and it dispenses a Diet Coke sort of thing. I'm sure the president would like that.
That's awesome. I mean, if I can wave my hand and a Diet Coke appears.
It's going to charge your bank account.
Oh, forget that then. No. I don't want them having that. Yeah.
But, it's the development of biotechnology, and it's something that's been talked about and speculated about for decades, and now it's finally coming to fruition. The technology has finally caught up with some of the ideas. But HB 2303 would prohibit employers from mandating, asking, or coercing employees to get such implants.
Wait a second. Asking is the thing I have a problem with here, okay? Because is it offering? Is that the right word? Offering?
Asking in the sense of in using, and I hate to speak out of turn because I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not diving into the definitions of these terms from a legal perspective.
Sure, I'm with you.
But coercing is probably or mandating, like using your influence as the employer to nudge them in that direction.
Because when you first start working at a place, they go, we ask you to get this implant. If you choose not to, that's your business, and here's your key card instead.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with, if you want to work here, here's your implants. I mean, there's other places where they probably do that, but that's not for the tech world.
Usually in Southern California.
Yeah. Or right next to Safeco Field. All right, what else we got going on here?
Well, I know you love your plastic bags.
Oh, love them to pieces. Absolutely love them. Can't get enough of them.
I'm sure, but apparently some have had way too much of the plastic bags. As you recall, a couple of years ago, there was the bill that was signed into law that eliminated single-use plastic bags.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the thicker plastic bags, which in theory are to be used multiple times and more recyclable, and you have a charge of 8 and, well, now as of the first of the year, 12 cents per bag as you check out, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a method of controlling pollution. However,
Or taking your money, but sure, we'll go with whichever narrative it is. It's fine.
you don't have to buy the plastic bags. That's not taking the money. If you bring your own
They
bag,
charge me for the paper ones, too. They charge me for all of them.
If you have your own bag, it costs you nothing.
I have to remember to bring my own bag. I refuse to on principle. It's just me carrying a whole armload of stuff to my car because I feel better that way. Exactly. I'm winning. I am winning, thank you. Yes.
You cut off your nose to spite your face. wouldn't you?
Exactly,
But
yes.
anyway, Senate Bill 5965, sponsored by Democrat Jessica Bateman, says, well, the previous bill's not working out all that well.
People do not reuse them that many times, so we're actually allowing for more plastic in our environment.
Which I think was a legitimate criticism at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating more plastic by using these thicker bags. Yes, in theory, people are going to be reusing them over and over again, but in practice, they're not.
Yeah.
So it's not really working out. So an experimental law seems to have failed.
Yes.
Okay, so they're trying to change it.
Okay. All right. I mean, look, I just got back from Israel, and dude, everywhere there has plastic bags. And in fact, any country I had to stop over in any time of my life, plastic bags are just given out. I don't think we're going to fix it here in the U.S. of A. in our little corner of the Pacific Northwest. But,
well, Ari, I've told you this story on the air a number of times, but I don't think Jeff has been around. So I've got cats, and I use the cheap
And then you're going to
plastic
like the next
bags.
story I've got for you, but we'll get to that in a second.
But in response to the current policies, I bought a case of cheap plastic bags from Amazon, probably manufactured in China, for like $20 or something like that, for like 500 bags.
So we couldn't find a made in the USA plastic bag company? I mean, what kind of a conservative are you?
Exactly. That's my point. They've made it so that I can't use the made in USA bags. I go for the cheap China bags.
Right.
Because of Washington's feckless policies.
Exactly. In fact,
you do realize if you had your own canvas bag, in the long run, you would save the money by not having to buy the bags over and over again.
You want me to put my cat litter
in a canvas bag?
What is wrong with you,
Oh,
Jeff?
I thought you were talking about shopping, not.
No, he
not,
takes the bags from shopping. He stashes them under the sink, like all of us do for
Okay.
all the reasons.
Okay.
But now he has to order 1,000 plastic bags off the Amazon for the cat poo. And
What, are you taking your cats on walks or something?
before he was reusing the bags, before they were reusable bags. And you said about in practice, I reuse the bags for garbage or for whatever else is in my house because I don't have cats. I got kids. They poo places. We got to clean that stuff up. So, yeah, that's reusable. Okay.
Yeah, but also thick plastic bags don't help me, and paper bags don't help me either.
Exactly.
But again,
Please
we're
continue.
talking about plastic bags specifically in a grocery market checkout
But those are the bags we reuse for the poo. We're very eco-friendly here on the
Find
Ari
plastic
Hoffman Show.
bags elsewhere, and I know you personally. You're not very eco-friendly.
I most certainly am. Thank you. If it saves me money, I
You
will
have
recycle.
a Dodge Charger. You are not
I am
eco-friendly.
making up for all those people in the EVs.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for the shout out to our sponsors over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. All right, Jeff, give me the cat one last, then we got
what? No, we got two more. We'll
Okay.
do the cat one real quickly, but have you, Mike, declawed your cats?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
No.
Take a wild
That
guess.
is inhumane, dude.
Well, in that sense, you are in agreement with some Democratic senators down in Olympia. Take a wild guess as to how many or percentage of domesticated house cats are declawed in the United States.
More than I would like.
Okay, all right.
I have no idea. I don't do animals.
According to a what?
I don't have pets.
What is wrong?
Well,
with
also, Ari, that's against the law.
It's not that
Unless-
farm,
unless you live
that
in
farm in
Enumclaw.
Olympia or wherever it was. Yeah,
But
okay.
anyway, According to a 2023 Gallup study, 1 in 5 household cats in the United States has been declawed.
Isn't that bad for them? Isn't that a whole thing?
That's the
it's
argument.
terrible.
Yeah.
That's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will gladly sign that legislation.
House Bill 1904 bans the declawing of our feline companions unless there's a medical or veterinary reason for doing so. But as we've been pointing out, it often leaves the cats defenseless when they're out in the elements. Democratic State Representative Strom Peterson says his bill is
another opportunity for us to look at animal cruelty laws and make sure that we're doing the right thing as Washingtonians to protect our little fuzzy friends.
I got no problem with this.
Okay.
I think we're getting agreement. I'm going to yield to Mike's expertise on this because I don't have pets. I'm yielding to Mike. If Mike says so, we will back this. That's what we're going to do.
I will gladly reach around the aisle on this one.
and
For the cat.
Wow.
Yes. Jeff isn't used to this.
You're
the way
making
we
my
do
mind
things here
go
on the
in
show.
very odd directions. But no one testified.
I love
no
women.
one testified against the declawing bill or the banning of the declawing in Wednesday's hearing. Finally, when was the last time you huffed galaxy gas?
I'm sorry. What? I don't huff any gas,
Oh,
dude.
okay.
My drug of choice is scotch.
Yeah. Eurogas, Whip It, Miami Magic, Galaxy Gas, whatever you happen to call it, nitrous oxide, laughing gas, has become a popular street drug, not only here, but across the U.S. I mean, you just hop on TikTok and you got, teenagers huffing it and laughing hysterically.
Get the whipped cream. That's nothing new, man. This isn't anything new.
Yeah.
I've seen them movies.
Yeah, but I mean, it's gained additional popularity as social media has picked up on it, and you know how the young people
Sure,
work. They
the
kind
young
of
folk.
they ruin everything.
Yes, they do.
But the dangers of using laughing gas recreationally are quite evident. Leads to asphyxiation, cardiovascular problems, brain
So what you're
damage,
saying is
paralysis,
drugs
bowel
are bad.
dysfunction. Yeah. Senate Bill 6169, bipartisan, sponsored by Drew Hansen and Jeff Hawley, would make it a gross misdemeanor to sell, distribute, or give away any device that contains nitrous oxide.
So no more whipped cream, shaving cream, anything like that?
Exceptions include medical, dental, automotive, and culinary uses.
So they're not going to solve the problem then?
No, well, it's ending the direct-to-consumer part of it.
I see, but a lot of this is done. Like, for example, what's the thing over the Sudafed? Sudafed is used in the production of some pretty bad drugs.
Yeah.
It's like getting rid of that and saying, okay, we're only going to sell it in CVS and Rite Aid and Walgreens, and we're not going to sell it at Safeway.
Yes, but again, not trying to speak out of turn, Sudafed is I wouldn't say it's a controlled substance. I'd have to look that up, but it is a quote-unquote drug, therefore more regulated by the FDA
I got what you're
than something that's used for industrial processes and things like that.
If they find something else to replace the nitrous oxide, they're just going to find a way to snort that or whatever it is afterwards.
Well, that's just how it goes.
Okay.
So-
I mean, I don't particularly have a problem with this.
Yeah.
I just don't. Sometimes there's just laws where you just go, okay, good luck with that. I don't see it really accomplishing it. However, this whole
I just want to
microchipping-
ban young stupidity.
Well, I mean, so do I. I got kids, but
why
I
I've not
created young stupidity.
procreated,
That's
yeah.
a whole other thing. Jeff Pogula, senior political.
You didn't even want to talk
correspondent.
about the income tax.
We'll do that in the next time. We've been
All right.
talking about the income tax the whole show.
Okay.
Jeff Pogula, senior political reporter for our friends correspondent for our friends over at Northwest News Radio. Thank you so much. When we come back, my review of A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical, which I saw last night with a lot of people from our biz. Tell you all about it. We come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I know we play a lot of arena rock here on the show, but I grew up listening to Neil Diamond. I love Neil Diamond. In fact, in my house, my mother always listened to oldies and show tunes. My father always listened to Neil Diamond, Madonna, and show tunes. If you're seeing a running theme here, you now know how you get a theater kid out of that mix. That's what you got. So that was me. Oh, I should throw in movie soundtracks were also on my dad's list. That's how you get me and my weird musical taste. It wasn't until middle school where I discovered Bon Jovi even existed. You would hear that music from time to time and just go, that sounds awesome. What is that? Got a musication later in life, and it was pretty awesome. But I grew up on Neil Diamond. I love Neil Diamond. I love his stuff. I've been to his concert. My first concert I ever went to was a Neil Diamond concert, and I got to say, very few things have ever measured up since the Neil Diamond concert. The lights, the sound, his stage presence, and I saw him in the 90s, not when he was in his 90s. I saw him in the 90s. That was one of my first concerts. Was Neil, if not my first concert, Neil Diamond. So I was really excited to go see A Beautiful Noise at the Paramount Theater, and thank you to our friends at the Paramount Theater for having us, having young Zach also, who was there last night, along with a lot of our friends from Northwest News Radio, and apparently everybody in the business. Mike, our old boss, Rick Van Sice was there. Nicole was there from Brandy's show. Was there. It was everybody. Everybody was there. So here's the thing. I opened up the playbill, and there's a note from Neil, and he kind of gives a little background as to why they made this show, which is about him not being able to perform anymore. He still wants to do something and still work out the talent that he has, even though he can't perform because he's got Parkinson's now. The show is a lot of fun. There's a lot of great music. The acting, the guy who plays Neil Diamond, the guy who plays his second wife, everybody's phenomenal in this. There was no weak spot, and sometimes in the traveling shows, you get a little bit of a weak spot. My issue is with the play itself. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's basically, if you know anything about the musical, it's seen through the eyes of Neil Diamond's therapy. Now, the people in Seattle love this, and it was a unique way of saying, oh, we're going to talk about your life and go back and visit your life. But the problem was the therapy was the finale of the musical. I'm not looking for Good Will Hunting when I'm seeing a thing about Neil Diamond. So the thing here is that it kind of slowed down the tone of an otherwise upbeat musical. I'm not saying go see it. Don't go see it. I thought it was wonderful, and if you love Neil Diamond, you should go see it. I went into it not knowing anything about it. I read that note from Neil in the playbill, and I go, what's this about to be? I'm a little confused. Am I just seeing a therapy session? There's music in this, right? And the music is astounding. It is as close as you can get now to going to a Neil Diamond concert, because unfortunately Neil Diamond isn't performing anymore. The lights are great, and they're 1/100th of what you would see at a Neil Diamond concert. The band is incredible, and yes, it's a live band, not recordings like they sometimes have to do with these shows. The drummer really stands out. The guy who plays Neil and the drummer, phenomenal. In fact, the guy who plays Neil Diamond won American Idol like 10 years ago. But I got to say, that thing at the end kind of threw me. This therapy session at the end. And also he talks about, okay, well, I have such a hard life because I made all this money and sold all these records and got married 3 times and have beautiful children. It's hard to kind of feel bad for the guy. I remember watching the VH1 Behind the Music on Neil Diamond because I love Neil Diamond that much, and we always watch Behind the Music. It was the most boring thing in the world because there wasn't a lot of scandal in the guy's life. He just gets divorced a lot. The music is wonderful. The way it's incorporated is wonderful. The lighting is wonderful. The scenery is wonderful. The way the show is done is wonderful. It just hit that wall at the end of it, which I wish it hadn't. You should still go see it. It is a lot of fun. A Beautiful Noise is playing right now at the Paramount Theater through the end of the month. You should go check it out. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. And if you love Neil Diamond, you will love this musical, A Beautiful Noise, playing right now at the Paramount Theater. Only good news to wrap up the show, my friends. When we come back, your good news headlines put a smile on your face as we head into your commute heading home tonight. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And Mike found this great story from Fox 13 that really shows the power of radio, by the way. 50 years ago, the Seattle Seahawks got its name through a radio competition where fans got the chance to choose a name. Tom Barnum said, "I think it's the best name ever." By the way, it is a cool name, and it's so fitting of this city. It really, really is. The truth is, Mariners fits too. My only issue with the Mariners is the Moose. I love the Moose. Nice guy. Met him in person. I don't get what that has to do with fishermen, but okay, or navigators of any kind. But fine. He's nice. He's sweet. Sweet guy. In 1975, Barnum learned he would have the chance to name the new Seattle NFL team. He tells Fox 13 he sent in a few suggestions, including the Sockeyes, Ospreys, Mariners. This competition was 2 years before the Seattle Mariners' first season, but we all know who came out the winner, the Seahawks. According to the Seahawks, the organization received more than 20,000 entries and nearly 1,741 different suggestions. Barnum was about one of 150 people who entered the name Seahawks. As acknowledgement for his suggestion, the newly named Seahawks organization sent Barnum a personalized team yearbook and program, as well as 2 complimentary tickets for the season. This year, Barnum was recognized again. The Beast Bus family learned this story and got Barnum, his sons, and grandson tickets to the Hawks game versus the Colts in December. The Seahawks received nearly 2,000 team name suggestions. Some of them make sense. Others have to be satire. Now, they have a list of all the names, which I thought was funny. I'm just going to scan this for a second so you can know what might have been. How about the Aardvarks, or the Aerotechs, or the Aqueducts, or the Apple Knockers? Apple Knockers? That sounds like it should be something else. I don't know.
You brought her, you Apple Knockers.
Bigfoots. Bigfoots isn't half bad, but I don't know if you can pluralize that. The Bayhawks, the Bronze Bobcat, the Clouds. No, absolutely not. There would have been a rainbow through the clouds. Would have been infinitely worse than you could imagine. The Daffy Ducks. Okay, guys, these are just terrible, terrible names. The Electric Loggers, the Geoduck, Gooey Ducks. Oh, Geoducks. Gooey Ducks, right. The Go-E Ducks, the Gnomes. Who wants to cheer for the Gnomes? The King Crabs, the Kilowatts, Gigawatts, I might have been on charge with. But
sure.
That movie hadn't come out yet, because then we would have known it was Gigawatts.
Also, King Crab isn't even a thing here.
It's really not.
You want to get that gummy stuff, go up to like Alaska and stuff. We're all about the Dungeness here.
Exactly. Oh, here's another one. Who would have cheered, and I'm a theater kid, would you have cheered for the Playwrights? I mean, come on. And what does that have to do with Seattle?
2 flashes mean no.
Yeah, the Royal Brahms? No. The Rainhawks? The Sounders? Huh, interesting. The Spittoons? Go Spittoons. The Salty Dogs.
Come on.
The Sheep? The 747s? We already have a team called the Jets, guys. You didn't need that one, okay? I get where you're going. Why are the Jets named the Jets? Because of the planes that fly from LaGuardia and Newark over the stadium. That's why they're called the Jets. The Space Needlers? You bring her, you Space Needler. I'm not usually on the uptick with that as fast as you guys are. The Skyhawks, okay. The Stilettos. All right. What are people getting?
I love women.
The Third Degree? Who are you people?
70s were a different time, man.
The Vampires. Okay, I'm on. That's not bad. The Yogas. The Zodiacs. Would have been fun till that killer came around. Ted Cruz, wherever you are. We know it's you, man. The Washington Georges.
Wait a sec. I'm sorry. Are you saying that Texas Senator Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer?
You haven't seen this conspiracy
I
theory?
don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know this? There is a legit conspiracy theory that Mike will be Googling as soon as the show is over, that Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer. Yes, it is. It is crazy stuff. He's
only in
into
America.
It. He has leaned into it the way that Marco Rubio has leaned into the couch meme. He has leaned into that, and not in a JD Vance kind of couch meme way. That's not what we're talking about here. Oh man, I'm just ticking off the entire conservative movement right now, aren't I? Oh dear.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mike, it was really nice that listener sent us a picture of the ball we were talking about yesterday from that play with
Oh
Richard
my
Sherman.
gosh. Yeah. That was pretty dope. So they sent a picture of the infamous Richard Sherman tip ball who was tipped off of that sorry receiver, Michael Crabtree. And as promised, we have a little bit of an audio presentation of what happened the last time the San Francisco 49ers took on my Seattle Seahawks in Lumen Field, but I think it was CenturyLink Field at the time. Maybe it was Seahawks Stadium. I don't know. It was a while ago.
Ask you the final play. Take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you?
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to shut it for you real quick. LOB.
My favorite thing about that clip in that video to this day is just how bewildered poor Erin Andrews was. She's like, take me through the play. And she's like, who is talking about you, Richard? And he's like, Crabtree. And I just, like, it's such an iconic video. You could see, like, the steam pouring out of him.
Sure.
It wasn't even that cold that night. That was just, like, steam. Like, he was like a charging bull. It was crazy. But good reminder, that was a conference championship game. It's just the divisional round this time. But again, that's what you're going to get this Saturday when my Seahawks send the Niners packing. They might need to call a hearse for all of their injured players. I feel bad for them almost, but not really.
I love it. We hope the Seahawks win. We're all looking forward to it. Plus, we get all this great content the longer the Seahawks are around. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. Fear not, we'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and more Seahawks news. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.